The great hall of the Galactic Council station buzzed with worried voices. Representatives from 40 different species filled the chamber, and none of them looked happy. Ambassador, and creature with silver wings, stood at the center platform. His multiple eyes reflected the hologram floating above him. "The void anchor is failing," announced. His translator made his clicking sounds into words everyone could understand. "We have less than 3 standard months before complete collapse." The hologram showed a massive structure floating in space. It looked like a giant ring made of crystal and metal, stretching 500 kilometers across. The void anchor was ancient, built by a civilization that died out 10,000 years ago. It controlled the hyperspace lanes for 47 star systems. Without it, ships could not travel fast between stars. Billions of people would be stranded. A tall, thin alien named spoke next. Her body was made of living crystal that glowed with soft blue light. She was a high curator, one of the oldest beings in the council. "The tried first," said. Her voice sounded like wind chimes. "Their calculations show it is mathematically impossible to repair. The structure is too damaged." "The Hive attempted next," added another representative. "Even with their million-mind network, they could not solve the problem. The corruption in the system is too chaotic for their organized thinking." "The energy beings have also failed," continued. "They cannot interact with solid matter in the way needed. Every advanced species in the galaxy has examined this problem. The conclusion is the same. We must evacuate the affected sectors." Silence fell over the chamber. Evacuating 47 star systems meant leaving homes, businesses, and history behind. It meant economic disaster for hundreds of worlds. The doors at the back of the chamber suddenly opened. 3 humans walked in, looking slightly rushed. The one in front was a man named. He wore a simple blue uniform with various patches sewn onto it. Behind him came a woman with short black hair and curious eyes. The third was a broad-shouldered man carrying a toolkit. "Sorry we are late," said with an apologetic smile. "The coffee maker on level 7 was broken. We stopped to fix it." Several aliens made sounds of confusion. The humans had fixed a coffee maker while the galaxy faced disaster. Looked at the hologram of the failing void anchor. He tilted his head, studying it for a moment. Then he turned to Ambassador. "So that thing is breaking, and you need someone to fix it?" asked. "It is not that simple," replied. His wings twitched with irritation. "The greatest minds in the galaxy have declared it impossible." "But did they try to fix it?" asked. She stepped forward, her eyes bright with interest. "Or did they just study it?" "They analyzed the problem extensively," said slowly. Laughed. "That is your problem right there. Too much thinking, not enough doing." "This is not a matter for jokes," said sharply. "We are discussing the fate of billions of lives." Raised his hands in a calming gesture. "We are not joking. Look, we humans are pretty good at fixing broken things. Want us to take a look at it?" The chamber erupted with noise. Aliens spoke over each other in dozens of languages. The humans had only been part of the Galactic Council for 80 years. They were the members, barely able to cross their own star system when the galaxy found them. Their technology was primitive compared to most species, and now they wanted to fix something that stumped the greatest minds. "This is absurd," one ambassador declared. "Humans lack the technical sophistication," another added. "They do not understand the complexity of builder technology," said a third. Crossed her arms and smiled. It was not a frustrated smile or an angry one. It was confident. "Relax," she said. "Leave it to us." Nodded. "We have fixed worse things with less. Give us a chance. What do you have to lose? You are already planning to give up." Ambassador looked at the other council members. Some showed doubt. Others showed curiosity. A few looked amused, as if watching a child claim they could move a mountain. Finally spoke. "Very well, the humans may attempt a solution. We lose nothing by letting them try." But added firmly, We will continue evacuation preparations. When you fail, we must be ready." "Fair enough," said. He did not seem bothered by the assumption of failure. "We will need a ship, access to the anchor, and whatever data you have on it." "You will have everything you need," promised. "Though I must ask, what makes you think you can succeed where others failed?" Looked at, and they looked back at him. Something passed between them, some understanding that needed no words. "Because," finally said, "we do not know enough to know it is impossible. Sometimes that is an advantage." The council dismissed them with instructions to prepare. As the humans left the chamber, many aliens shook their heads or made sounds of pity. They were already mourning the humans who would waste their time on a hopeless task. But Elder, a being so old that his species had met the builders before they vanished, watched the humans go with ancient eyes. He remembered something about the builders. They too had been adaptable. They too had tried impossible things. Maybe, he thought, just maybe, these young humans carried an old spark. The galaxy was about to find out. The human ship approached the void anchor 3 days later. The ship was called Second Chance, and it looked like it had earned that name many times over. Patches covered the hull. The engines hummed with uneven rhythm, but it flew true, and that was what mattered. Sat in the captain's chair, watching the massive structure grow larger on the. Next to him, Minyu handled the controls. Minyu was the pilot, known for flying patterns that made other species nervous but somehow always worked. "Well, that is definitely big," Minyu said with a low whistle. Behind them, Sora studied her handheld scanner. She was the structural engineer, though her methods made traditional engineers uncomfortable. She believed buildings and machines could tell you what they needed if you listened. "The outer ring is stable," Sora reported, "but the inner mechanisms are failing. I am reading energy fluctuations in 12 major sectors." "Can you tell what is causing it?" asked from his station. Was their AI specialist and hacker? If a system had code, he could talk to it. "Not yet. The corruption is strange. It keeps changing patterns." Floated into the bridge in zero gravity. As there, she studied alien life, but she also understood systems in ways others did not. She saw connections between things. "They sent us their full analysis," said. 2,000 pages of mathematics proving why we cannot fix this." "Did you read it?" asked. "The first page, then I deleted it." "Why?" "Because their conclusion was that we would fail. I do not need that in my head." Laughed from the medical station. She was their medic, but also the person who kept everyone calm when things went wrong. "I like that philosophy, ignorance as a strategy." "Not ignorance," corrected. "Optimism, there is a difference." Minyu brought the ship close to the anchor. They could see the structure in detail now. It was beautiful and terrifying. Crystalline sections glowed with inner light. Metal frameworks twisted in patterns that hurt to look at too long. Energy arced between connection points. Parts of it flickered like a dying light. Those were the corrupted sections. "Observation ships from the Council are watching us," reported. 17 different species. They want to see us fail. "Then let us not disappoint them," said. "By succeeding, everyone ready." They confirmed they were ready, stood and stretched. "Okay, first step of the human approach to problem solving." "What is that?" Sora asked. "We try the obvious thing everyone else thought was too simple." They suited up and took a small shuttle to the anchor itself. Landing on the ancient structure felt strange. The metal beneath their boots was older than human civilization. Somewhere in the Council observation ships, aliens were recording everything. Sora and walked to the nearest control interface. It was a panel of lights and symbols that made no sense. The builder language had been partially translated, but much remained unknown. So said, "Have we tried turning it off and on again?" Sora stared at him. "You are joking." "Am I? Look, sometimes things just need a restart. My grandfather used to fix everything by unplugging it and plugging it back in." This is a civilization-critical megastructure, not a toaster. A toaster is also critical if you want toast, pointed out. Was already studying the panel. I can find the power regulation systems, might be able to cycle them. Wait, Sora said. If we do this wrong, we could make it worse. Can it get worse than total collapse? Asked. She thought about it. Fair point, do it. Worked his technical magic. His fingers moved over his portable device, talking to the ancient system in ways that should not be possible. He was creating a bridge between human technology and builder technology through nothing but creative coding. Routing power, now Sid. The section of the anchor they stood on went dark. For 5 seconds, nothing happened. Then lights flickered back to life, but steadier than before. The corrupted flickering in that sector stopped. Did that just work? Sora asked in disbelief. Checked his readings. Sector 7 is now stable. The corruption cannot maintain itself without constant power. We disrupted its cycle. Back on the observation ships, alarms went off. Alien scientists scrambled to confirm what they were seeing. One sector of the anchor, which had been failing for months, was now functioning normally. They actually did something, one observer said. Impossible, another replied. It must be temporary. But an hour later, Sector 7 remained stable. The human team returned to their ship and gathered around the main table. They had food, coffee, and data. So the power cycle worked for one sector, said, but we have 11 more corrupted sectors. The corruption is not the same everywhere. It adapted to each section. That is the problem, said, studying the biological-looking patterns in the corruption data. This is not just a malfunction. The corruption is learning. It is almost alive. Can something that is almost alive be almost dead? Minyu asked. Everyone looked at him. What? It is a valid question. Smiled. Actually, it is, and it gives me an idea. What if we are fighting this wrong? The other species tried to cure the corruption like a disease. They used logic and mathematics. And those did not work, Sora added. Right, because the corruption learned to adapt to logical solutions. It is like a virus that builds immunity. So what do we do? Asked. We fight it with something it cannot predict, said. We use illogical solutions. We use human creativity. Grinned. Now that is something we are good at. They worked through the night, each person bringing different ideas. Sora proposed using gravity wells in ways that made no mathematical sense but created useful effects. Suggested confusing the corruption's learning algorithm with randomized inputs. Minyu offered to fly patterns through the collapsing space that would redistribute energy unpredictably. Listened to all of it and shook her head with a smile. This sounds completely insane. That is the point, said. I know, replied. That is why it might work. They implemented their first illogical solution in Sector 3. It involved routing power backwards, using damaged conduits that should not work, and introducing a feedback loop that created more problems than it solved according to any normal analysis. The corruption in Sector 3 panicked. It tried to adapt but could not find the pattern. After 2 hours, the sector stabilized. The observation ships fell silent. What were the humans doing? Nothing they did made sense, yet it was working. Over the next week, the humans stabilized 4 more sectors. Each solution was different. Each one broke multiple rules of engineering, and each one worked. The galaxy was starting to pay attention. These strange humans with their backwards logic were actually fixing the impossible problem. But the corruption was learning too, and it was preparing something the humans had not seen yet. 2 weeks into the mission, the humans had stabilized 60% of the void anchor. The galaxy watched with growing amazement. News feeds across civilized space showed footage of the human team doing things that should not work. Engineers from advanced species studied the methods and found no logic, yet could not deny the results. Joined the team in the second week. She was their communications officer, skilled at finding patterns in noise. When she arrived, she brought fresh coffee and news. "You are famous," told them as they gathered in the mess hall. "The council has been flooded with requests from species wanting to learn human engineering methods." "We do not have methods," Sora said tiredly. "We just do whatever seems like it might work." "That apparently is the method," replied with a grin. Their quantum mechanic looked up from her food. She had been working for 16 hours straight. "The problem is getting worse. The corruption is adapting faster now." "How much faster?" asked. "It used to take a full day to learn our patterns. Now it takes 4 hours. It is studying us." This was troubling news. Had noticed the same thing. The corruption is definitely semi-sentient, not fully alive but intelligent enough to learn and adapt. Every time we use a solution, it learns how to defend against that type of solution. "So we need to stop using patterns," said. She had been quiet all morning, thinking. "We need to use pure creative randomness. No two solutions should be similar." "How do we do that?" Minyu asked. "We stop coordinating. Each person contributes ideas without knowing what the others are doing. We create chaos that even we cannot predict." Admiral, a reptilian military observer from the council, heard about this plan. His ship had been watching the humans for days. He requested a direct communication channel. "This is madness," Admiral said when explained the plan. His scales were dark green and his eyes were sharp. "How can disorder create order?" "It is not disorder," explained. "It is adaptive flexibility. Think of it like a jazz band." "I do not know what that is." "It is music where each player improvises. They listen to each other but play their own parts. The result is organized chaos, beauty from unpredictability." Admiral was silent for a moment. His species valued discipline and order above all else. But he had fought in many battles and knew that rigid plans often failed. "Your species evolved as persistent hunters, yes?" the Admiral asked. "That is right. And you adapted to every environment on your home planet, from frozen lands to burning deserts." "We did." "I begin to understand. Your strength is not superior technology or intelligence. It is your ability to change, to adapt, to persist when others give up." "Exactly." The Admiral made a gesture of respect. "Then I will trust your chaos, but be careful. The corruption grows more dangerous every day." The humans implemented their new strategy. Each team member worked on different sectors without communicating their methods. Jury-rigged a quantum stabilizer using spare parts from their ship and, strangely, a kitchen microwave. She could not explain why it worked, but it did. Discovered something interesting. She had been playing music while working, old songs from Earth. The corruption seemed to react to certain frequencies. She created a cascading feedback loop using sound waves that disrupted the corruption's ability to maintain patterns. "You defeated part of an ancient alien system with pop music," Minyu asked, impressed. "Not just any music," said proudly. "Classic K-pop from the 2020s. Apparently, even alien corruption cannot resist a good beat." The method worked brilliantly for 3 days. They stabilized 5 more sectors using completely random approaches. The corruption could not adapt because there was nothing consistent to learn from. But then disaster struck. Sector 9 collapsed without warning. The corruption had learned one final trick. It stopped trying to adapt defensively. Instead, it began attacking offensively. Energy cascaded through the anchor systems, seeking out the human repairs and destroying them. "We have multiple cascade failures," shouted. "Sectors 3, 7, and 9 are going critical." The ship shook as energy waves hit them. Alarms blared. On the anchor itself, Sora and were caught in a collapsing section, their suit radios filled with static. "Sora, come in," called. "Nothing." "I am reading life signs," reported, "but they are trapped. The structure collapsed around them. Was already moving. She grabbed medical supplies and a cutting torch. Minyu, get us close, I need help. The energy discharges are too dangerous, Minyu warned. I did not ask if it was dangerous. I said get us close. Minyu smiled grimly and did his job. He flew the shuttle through energy storms that would make any sane pilot turn back. His hands danced across the controls, reacting to dangers before they happened. It was insane flying. It was beautiful flying. They reached the collapsed section and cut through twisted metal while explosions happened around them. They found Sora and unconscious but alive. Their suits had protected them barely. Back on the ship, worked to save them. She used every trick she knew and invented a few new ones. Both team members survived, though they would need days to recover. But the mission was in trouble. The corruption is no longer just defending itself, explained to everyone. It is hunting our repairs. Everything we fixed is coming undone. Can we fight it? Asked. Not with our current methods. It has learned too much. It knows how we think now. Stared at the data, her eyes red from lack of sleep. Then we need to stop thinking. We need to act on pure instinct. How? Asked. I do not know yet, but we are running out of time. Outside, Admiral watched from his command ship. He saw the human vessel, damaged and barely holding together. He saw the crew, exhausted and scared but still working. They are not giving up, his second officer noted. No, the Admiral agreed. They are not. That is what makes them remarkable, and that is why I think they still might succeed. On the observation channels, other species were not so optimistic. Many believed the humans had finally reached their limit. But deep in the ancient archives, Elder was researching. He had remembered something about the builders, something important. He began composing a message to send to the humans. The message that might give them one final chance. Meanwhile, on the anchor, the corruption gathered its strength. It had learned much from fighting the humans. Now it prepared to finish them. A countdown began, encoded in the structure's dying systems. The void anchor would collapse completely in 6 hours. And no one knew except the corruption itself. The alarm woke everyone on the ship. It was not their alarm. It came from the anchor itself, transmitted on every frequency. Translated the signal within seconds. His face went pale. We have 6 hours until total collapse, not just failure, complete destruction. The anchor will tear itself apart. Ran to the bridge still wearing his sleep clothes. Everyone gathered, exhausted and worn down from weeks of work. Sora and were awake but still recovering from their injuries. Can we stop it? Asked. Shook his head. Every solution we have tried, the corruption knows how to defeat now. It has evolved beyond our ability to predict. A transmission came through from the Galactic Council. Ambassador appeared on screen. His face somehow managed to look both sad and frustrated. We have detected the countdown, said. Humans, you have done more than anyone thought possible, but you must evacuate now. We are ordering all observation ships to leave the area. The anchor's destruction will create a shockwave. We still have 6 hours, said. 6 hours is not enough time. You tried your best. Please accept this reality and leave before you die for nothing. Looked at his team. They looked back at him. Eyes were determined. Minyu cracked his knuckles, ready for another flight. Even injured Sora was shaking her head, refusing to give up. Ambassador said carefully, with respect, we are not done until we are done. You cannot fix this. Maybe not, but we have not tried everything yet. There is nothing left to try. Smiled tiredly. Then I guess we will have to invent something new, second chance out. He closed the channel. The observation ships began pulling away from the anchor, following council orders. Only Admiral's military vessel remained at a safe distance, watching. Why do you stay? His second officer asked. Because I want to see how this ends, the Admiral said. Win or lose, this will be worth witnessing. Another transmission came through to the human ship. This one was from Elder, the ancient being who had watched the humans with quiet interest since the beginning. His crystalline face appeared on screen. His voice sounded like distant stars singing. Humans, I have researched the Builder archives. I found something. The anchor has a reset protocol. Everyone leaned forward. The builders designed a way to restore the anchor to its original state, erasing any corruption. But the activation method was lost when they disappeared. Can you find it? Asked urgently. I already did, but there is a problem. The reset requires simultaneous input at 12 points across the structure. The timing must be perfect to nanosecond precision. We can do that with computers, said. No, the corruption will detect and stop any automated system. It must be done manually, with living beings. Frowned, nanosecond precision means perfectly synchronized. Most species cannot do that without AI assistance. I know, said quietly. That is why every species failed to consider this option. It is theoretically impossible for organic beings. But, asked sensing more. But you humans have something others lack. You have instinctive synchronization, your ability to work together without communication. I have watched you. You trust each other in ways other species do not understand. You want us to activate 12 points manually at exactly the same moment, Minyu asked. Yes, it is your only chance. Though I must warn you, the energy required will be immense. You must channel everything through your ship. It will likely destroy your vessel. Silence filled the bridge. Send us the coordinates and the activation sequence, said. Hesitated. You understand you may die. We understand, send it. The data arrived moments later, studied it and made a sound of surprise. The activation sequence is not mathematical, it is biological. The builders were organic beings like us. The pattern is based on neural rhythms. Can you identify it? Sora asked. Yes, it is similar to a heartbeat pattern. The builders must have synchronized their biology to activate it. Laughed, but it was not a happy sound. So we need to sync our heartbeats while standing at 12 points across a dying megastructure. That is about right, confirmed. Well, Minyu said, we have done stranger things. They had 5 hours left. The team divided up. 12 points meant some people would be alone. They studied the sequence, practiced the timing, and prepared their equipment. Checked everyone's health. Your bodies are exhausted. Your stress levels are dangerous. If you push harder, some of you might have heart attacks. Will we live long enough to have heart attacks if we do nothing? Asked. Smiled sadly, no. Then we have nothing to lose. With 4 hours remaining, they took shuttles to their positions. Each person stood at their assigned point, alone on the vast structure. Through their suit radios, they could hear each other breathing. Stood at point 1, the primary activation node. Everyone in position. One by one, they confirmed. 12 voices, 12 positions, one impossible task. Had created a makeshift neural network linking all their suits. It would not control them, but it would let them feel each other's presence. A way to stay connected across the vast distances. 3 hours left, reported. The corruption is trying to stop us. It is sending energy surges toward each position. Minyu said, can you keep it busy? Oh, I can keep it very busy. Minyu launched in a shuttle and began flying wild patterns around the anchor. He drew the corruption's attention, dodging energy blasts and cascading failures. It was suicide flying. It was also buying them time. 2 hours, said. Her voice was calm, but her hands shook. I have analyzed the activation sequence. It is definitely biological. We need to match not just timing, but intention. We need to want this at the same moment. How do we synchronize wanting something? Asked. We already have, said quietly. We all want the same thing, To save these star systems, to protect the people living there. We have wanted it since the beginning." "He is right," Sora said. "We are already synchronized where it matters." 1 hour remaining. They began routing all available power to their positions. Every energy cell from the ship, every backup system, even their suit batteries. When they activated the sequence, everything would channel through the second chance and into the anchor. The ship would not survive it. 30 minutes, said, "Everyone ready?" They were ready. Began a countdown, her voice steady. "Together on 3. Listen to my voice, feel each other through the link. We are one crew, we are one purpose." The corruption sensed what they planned. It threw everything at them. Energy storms, structural collapses. The anchor screamed like a dying animal. Minyu flew through it all, drawing fire, keeping them safe for just a few more minutes. 10 seconds, said. 12 humans breathed together across the anchor. They felt each other's hearts beating through the neural link. They were scared. They were determined. They were ready. 3. Closed his eyes and thought of everyone he was saving. 2. Placed her hand on the activation panel and felt the ancient technology respond. 1. 12 hands moved. 12 hearts beat as one. 12 humans activated the reset protocol together. And the galaxy held its breath. Light exploded from the void anchor. Not destructive light, but pure white energy that washed across the Tertian nebula like a wave. Every sensor in the region went temporarily blind from the intensity. Ships rocked from the pressure wave but held steady. Then silence. For 10 seconds nothing happened. The anchor hung in space, dark and still. Admiral gripped his command chair. "Report what happened." "Unknown, sir. All readings are—" "Wait." His sensor officer leaned forward. "Sir, the anchor is powering up. Clean power signatures. No corruption detected." The admiral stood. "Are you certain?" "Yes, sir. It is working. It is working perfectly." The void anchor came to life. Every section glowed with steady light. The crystalline structures pulsed with healthy energy. The corruption was gone, purged completely. The reset had worked. Hyperspace lanes across 47 star systems reactivated simultaneously. Ships that had been stranded for weeks suddenly found their navigation systems working again. Trade routes reopened. Communication networks restored themselves. The galaxy lit up with activity. But at the anchor, there was only silence from the human ship. "Second chance, respond," the admiral transmitted. "Humans, report your status." "Nothing." "Send a recovery team," the admiral ordered. "Now." The human ship drifted near the anchor, dark and lifeless. When the rescue teams reached it, they found the vessel barely intact. The hull was cracked. The engines were burned out. Life support was failing. But in the emergency shelter at the ship's core, 12 humans lay unconscious but alive. Medical teams from 6 different species worked to stabilize them. Woke first, her medical training making her body fight harder to recover. She checked on her crew members one by one, even while doctors tried to treat her. "Are they alive?" she kept asking. "Tell me they are alive." "They are alive," a reptilian doctor assured her. "Exhausted, injured, but alive. You all survived." Cried, she had held everything together for so long, staying strong for everyone else. Now she could finally let go. One by one, the others woke, opened his eyes and saw sitting next to his medical bed. She smiled at him, her face bruised but her eyes bright. "Did it work?" asked. "It worked." He closed his eyes and smiled. "Good, that is good." They were transported to the council station for recovery. What they did not know was that, while they slept, the entire galaxy had been watching the sensor recordings. The moment of activation had been captured by every observation ship. The recordings showed 12 humans, separated by kilometers, moving in perfect synchronization. The timing was not just precise, it was impossible. nanosecond accuracy achieved by organic beings without AI assistance. Scientists studied the data for days. They found something remarkable. At the moment of activation, all 12 human heartbeats had matched exactly. Not just rhythm, but the actual neural patterns controlling them had synchronized through will alone. This should not be possible, a scientist declared. And yet it happened, another replied. When the human team was well enough to leave medical care, they found the council station had changed. Aliens who had ignored them before now stopped to stare. Some made gestures of respect. Others simply watched in awe. Ambassador met them at the docking bay. His silver wings were spread wide, a sign of deep respect among his people. "The council wishes to see you," said, "all of you." They walked into the great chamber together. It was packed with representatives from hundreds of species. When the humans entered, something unprecedented happened. Everyone stood. No one spoke. They simply rose from their seats in recognition of what these 12 humans had accomplished. Elder stepped forward. His ancient crystal body glowed warm colors. "You did more than save the void anchor. You proved something we had forgotten. The builders were like you, adaptable, creative, willing to attempt the impossible. They did not build the anchor through superior technology alone. They built it through determination and unity. That is why their reset protocol required what it did," continued. "They knew only beings who thought like them could activate it, beings who trusted each other completely, who synchronized not through computers but through shared purpose." Stepped forward to speak. His uniform was clean, but his body still showed signs of their ordeal. "We did not save the anchor because we are smarter than you. We are not. We saved it because we do not quit. We saved it because we trust each other. And we saved it because sometimes the best solution is not the most logical one. Sometimes you just have to be willing to try." The chamber erupted in sounds of approval from dozens of species. Clicking, humming, chirping, and sounds that had no human equivalent, all expressing the same thing: respect. The council offered humanity premium membership status. They offered key positions in galactic infrastructure. They offered technology and resources. Spoke up: "We accept the membership. We appreciate the recognition. But do not call us for easy jobs. We prefer the impossible ones." Laughter filled the chamber, actual laughter from species that rarely showed humor. Admiral approached them after the ceremony. "I fought in the border wars," he said. "I have seen bravery from many species, but what you did was beyond bravery. It was faith in each other. That is rarer than any metal in the galaxy." The team returned to their ship days later. The second chance had been repaired, though it still showed scars from their mission. They gathered on the bridge, looking at the stars. "So," Minyu said from the pilot's seat, "what is next?" Before anyone could answer, an urgent transmission came through. A star system far from Council space was sending a distress call. A dying star threatened to go supernova early. 3 billion people needed evacuation, but there was not enough time. Unless someone could find a way to stabilize the star. Every major species had looked at the problem. All concluded it was impossible. Looked at his crew. They looked back at him. Tired smiles appeared on tired faces. "Want to take it?" asked. "Why not?" replied. "We have gotten pretty good at impossible." He opened a channel to the distress call. "This is the crew of the second chance. We received your message. Relax. Leave it to us." Minyu started the engines. Sora plotted a course, began researching star mechanics, prepared medical supplies, opened communication channels, checked their quantum equipment. They were already working. Across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, beings watched the news. The humans were going to try another impossible task. Some species shook their heads, others made sounds of interest. But deep in archives and universities, young aliens began studying human methods. Not the technology, but the philosophy, the willingness to try, the refusal to accept failure, the power of working together toward a common purpose. A new field of study emerged. They called it adaptive problem solving. Some called it human logic, others just called it hope. A human news correspondent who had been documenting the Anchor mission finished her documentary. She titled it Humanity's Method. It became required viewing in schools across the galaxy. The documentary ended with footage of the second chance flying away from the Anchor toward their next mission. Narration played over the image. They are not the strongest species, not the most advanced. But when the galaxy faces the impossible, when every logical solution has failed, there is one thing we have learned. We call the humans, we give them the problem, and then we do what they always tell us to do. We relax, we leave it to them, and we watch in awe as they find a way. The ship jumped to hyperspace, chasing another impossible dream. Behind them, the void anchor glowed steady and strong, a testament to 12 humans who refused to quit. A reminder that sometimes the greatest technology is not artificial intelligence or quantum computing. Sometimes it is just faith in each other. The galaxy had learned its lesson, and humanity had shown them something they had forgotten. There is no such thing as impossible. There are only problems that have not been solved yet. And somewhere out there, 12 humans were about to prove it again.